If I wanted to start phone flipping and I only had $100 or $200 and I wanted to scale all the way up to $10,000 a month, it would be hard, but it is possible. In this video, I'm going to give you my step-by-step strategy to the phones I would buy, to when I would start running different systems, and how I would scale this business from $100 all the way up to 10K a month. I'm not gonna lie, this process is very long, maybe like a 3, 4, or 5 month process, because at the end of the day, phone flipping is about capital and you can't really scale if you don't have a lot of it, but you can turn nothing into a lot if you keep staying consistent and just lay one small brick every single day. So without further ado, let's get into the video. So first, you have to be aware of what models you can buy. If you only have $100 to $200 right now, you're probably limited to iPhone 11 and under. Right now, on July 10th, 2025, iPhone 11s are selling for roughly $140 to $150. That's used iPhones on like Facebook Marketplace, eBay, stuff like that. So in order for me to be in decent profit, I would want to get an iPhone 11 for $100 or under. So that would be my very first flip. I would take my $100, purchase an iPhone 11, and resell it for $150 to make my first $50 profit. Now, I'm not gonna lie, there's some generational deals that happen from that XR to 12 range. I found iPhone 11 Pro Maxes for $100 that I've resold for $250. I bought an XS Max before for $50 that I resold for $150. So even with as little as $150, you're in a scenario where you could definitely make $50 to $100 profit if you make the right purchases. Now, the one that I think will be most likely now that I have $150 capital is purchasing another iPhone 11. If you can get it from $100 to $70 and flip it for another $150, now you have $200 capital and you can move into the iPhone 12. Now, what's very pivotal about you scaling from $100 all the way up to 10K a month is reinvesting all your profits. Now, if you guys watch my phone flipping story at all, I had a job when I started this business. So I wasn't taking any of my money from phone flipping and spending it on gas, food, and all this other stuff. Like, that money was going right back into the business because you need to stack it. If you're only phone flipping and you're spending your profits on your lifestyle, you will be in an endless cycle, a trap, and you will not scale, or it will take you an insanely long amount of time to do so. Now, back to the scaling process. At this point, I flipped 2 iPhone 11s for $50 profit each, leaving me with $200 in capital. Now I can buy a little bit more stuff. I might be able to find a good deal on a 12 Pro Max or 11 Pro Max. Now, you could be that go big or go home guy and spend all your capital on whatever you can afford to make whatever your profit is, but I just don't think that's smart. When I was first starting out, I was making very small $30, $40, $50 profit flips to stack my money, and then when I had like $1,000, $1,500 in capital to invest, that's when I started buying more expensive phones, because I'm still buying and selling on Marketplace. I need to have money to buy more phones. I can't just have all my money tied up for when good stuff gets posted, because like, what am I doing at that point? So personally, if I were you and I had $200 to invest, I would not go out looking for 12 Pro Maxes and 13 Pro Maxes yet. I would continue to flip these iPhone 11s and iPhone XRs. Now, what I do know is iPhone 11s, XRs, like, for good prices, they're hard to come by. Like, people are very delusional in that price point setting. So what I would highly advise you do in this scenario when you're just starting out is market yourself for free. This involves posting flyers in your area saying that you pay cash for iPhone 8 to 11, and also making posts on Marketplace marketing the exact same service. Now, I'm not saying that the free marketing is just going to have you flooded with iPhone 11s that are in perfect condition, but you want to increase your odds of finding iPhone 11s in good condition, because a lot of people that have these older models, like, normally the battery health is low, it has a little crack, there's always some minor defect with the phone. So you want to increase your chances of getting these lower end models in good condition so your profits don't change. Now, if you're actively on Marketplace how you should be if you're trying to scale, and you're running the free marketing system, you have $200 to your name, you should be in a position where you're getting around like 2 or 3 leads per day of people who have XRs or 11. With that being said, for these models, you really don't want to clear $100. For an iPhone XR, I wouldn't pay more than like $60. For an iPhone 11, I definitely wouldn't clear $100. And you would continuously stack these small flips until you got into the $400 range. Once you reach the $400 range, you're more so in a position to where your profits change from $50 and you can potentially hit a $100 profit flip. In my experience on Marketplace, especially as of recent, people have a very hard time pricing 12 Pro Maxes and 13 Pro Maxes. 13 Pro Maxes very commonly get posted for $300, and those can very easily be resold for $370 to $380 back on Facebook Marketplace or on a global marketplace like eBay. Now, one thing that I do want to point out while you're making all these flips is a lot of this stuff that you're getting is going to be carrier unlocked with little to no defects. The reason you're limited to that sort of stock is because you don't have a lot of money to invest and you're selling all your stuff back on Marketplace to regular customers. Granted, customers do purchase things with minor defects like a little crack on the back or maybe some scratching to the screen, but when it comes to phones that like are carrier locked, blacklisted, don't power on, or have like major defects, you're not able to purchase those phones because you're selling to people who are really going to use the phone for themselves. Now, that's one of the growing up pieces of phone flipping, is when you don't have a lot of money to invest, you're very limited on what you can buy and who you can sell to. Now here, we're going to fast forward a bit on basically what I think you should buy depending on what capital you have, because you're rinsing and repeating the same process. You're buying carrier locked and solid condition phones on Marketplace, and you're reselling them on Marketplace or eBay to customers who are going to use the phone for themselves. Now, from this $400 range, I would advise that you buy 13 Pro Max and under. You're going to rinse and repeat that process until you get into the $800 range. Once you get up to $800, I would advise that you get into 14 Pro Maxes and under. And you'll rinse and repeat those flips until you get to around $1,200, while I would now advise that you get into 15 Pro Maxes and under. Now, all of this does fluctuate depending on if you find a generational deal. I know for most of you on here, this is common sense, but if you're in that $900 capital range and you do find a 15 Pro Max, 16 Pro Max for $500, $600, definitely buy it. Don't just take everything I say to the T. The thing about being on Marketplace every day and running the free ad system is that you're going to find generational deals every now and then. You're doing so much volume that at the end of the day, when the iPhone 14 Pro Max gets posted for $300 or the 15 gets posted for $300, like, you're going to be the one who sees it, and you should definitely go pick that up, and you're going to have some days where you make like $200 profit off of one singular flip. I'm just giving you guys the very worst case scenario if you're only making like $50 to $100 profit per phone that you buy. Now, once you get into that $1,200 range, like I said, you're going to be upgrading in the 15 Pro Maxes. And once you get into that $1,500, $1,600 range, you should be purchasing every model. Now, you're going to rinse and repeat these $50 to $100 flips all the way up until you get to $2,000. In my personal experience, this took me about 2 months. Now, with this $2,000, you can now take what used to be your hustle and start turning it into a business. And this is exactly how. Now, over the course of all these transactions and who you sell to, you should be networking, knowing who you're buying from and who you're selling to. Because when you get into the $2,000 range and you're getting into the system that I'm about to tell you about, you want to have a private buyer. Now, most private buyers do own buyback businesses and like actual repair shops, but if they look at you as a regular customer, they're not going to give you good pricing. You need private buyers that give you good pricing for the system that I'm about to tell you, where you're running paid advertising, getting people to come to you, and you're getting so many phones that you don't know what to do with them. Now, if you don't know what a private buyer is, just to explain real quick, they purchase phones in bulk. The prices are at about 80% of market value, so you're getting a pretty good ROI on every single phone that you sell because they're buying so many and they're selling so many. Another advantage that the private buyer gives you is you can now purchase whatever phone you want. Private buyers buy blacklisted, they buy carrier lock, they buy finance, they buy iCloud lock. Any type of phone that you have, a private buyer has a price for. So if I were you and I was just starting to scale my business, over the course of all these transactions, I would be actively networking with my repair shops and local carriers. I'm not talking super big like Verizon, AT&T. I'm talking about your very local repair shop that's active in the community. Those are the type of people that are usually connected to the people that you want to sell to. Now, in the event that you're networking and you can't find any private buyers, here's what I would tell you to do. Private buyers or wholesale buyers, they like two types of stock. They like repair stock, new in box stock, and like new condition stock. They like new in box stock because it moves easy. They like grade A or like new stock because they can sell it for a premium. And they like repair stock because they can fix it and relist it on their own platforms for a premium. Now, if you're constantly posting quantity of either of these types of stock, the wholesale buyers will find you. Finding a wholesale buyer isn't as simple as wholesale buyer near me and you're going to find somebody with great prices to help you start your business. Like, you have to be networking. Nobody's going to hold your hand through this networking process. Like, you have to kind of man up, ask questions, ask who buys what and for good pricing, because you're an upcoming business owner and you want what you want. If you're too scared to do so, I advise you stop watching the video and find another business model. Over the course of these transactions, hypothetically, you've networked or I've networked and you have around $2,000 in capital to invest and you have your first private buyer. At this point, you can start running paid marketing for your business. What I mean by paid marketing is you're going to be running meta ads. These are going to be ads that run across meta platforms like Facebook, Instagram, letting your area know that you pay cash for phones and you're doing it today. Now, if you're in the paid advertising space on YouTube at all, I know a lot of people tell you guys that you should just run picture advertising. A very bland and basic picture is saying you pay cash for phones with no sort of brand building whatsoever. But I'm telling you right now that method is super outdated and people don't trust that anymore. If you want people to really trust you and reach out to you, it has to be your brand and business. So what I would do is I would run a video ad saying, yo, me, Ace, wants to buy your phone and I'm paying cash today, hit me for a cash offer. Now I'm going to have people reaching out to me with every single type of phone and I have an immediate sale because I have a private buyer. So I'm basically running the same system as before with buying phones and selling them, but it's a lot quicker. And since it's quicker, I can do so much more volume, which allows me to make so much more money. Now, whenever I buy a phone, I'm not waiting 2-3 days to sell it on Marketplace so that I can get back and buy more. I'm getting the phone, selling it to my private buyer the exact same day, getting cashed out and going out and buying more phones. Now, as more people come in and I'm getting meetups pretty consistently, I want to start issuing business cards. At the end of every transaction, I want to give out a business card. I want to let the customer know that if they have anything else, or they have a friend, family member, aunt, uncle, whatever the case may be, that they can reach out to me and I'll give them a quote today for whatever they have. I would also incentivize this offer by letting the customer know that if whoever you refer sells me a phone, I will give you $10. This now gives them a reason to tell more people about you. Another thing you want to do at the end of these transactions is you want to have some sort of social proof. If you want to be cheap and you really don't want to invest into the brand of your business, you don't have to. But me personally, I would invest in some Ray-Ban Meta glasses. They're about $300, maybe $400 max. And with these Meta glasses, I will record all my interactions and I'll post them on my Instagram and I'll post them on my Facebook so people really know that I'm out here buying phones and I'm really doing this. Like, I'm not just some regular dude saying I want to pay cash for a phone and I'm not doing that. Like, this is something that I do every single day. So with this, I build social proof and I build trust with my community. So now people who do come across my ad, if they do have any further questions on if I'm real or if they should reach out or if my pricing is good, they can just look through my videos with every other interaction that I've ever had and say, yo, like, okay, like, he actually kind of does this. Now that customer is more inclined to reach out to me. So you're getting customers consistently, you're giving out business cards, and now you're building a brand and reputation in your area of, yo, this guy pays cash for phones and he's pretty good at it. Over the course of this whole process, you're also going to meet people who supply you with phones. This is like the bread and butter of your whole business. We love suppliers over here. Most of my suppliers I met through my Facebook advertising, but they supply you with phones in bulk so you don't have to go out and source them. These are people that are bringing you 10, 15, 20 phones in a setting and you're not really paying for the business because you know them and you've worked with them before. A combination of social proof, suppliers, and a good flow of leads constantly from marketplace and from customers who see my paid marketing, like, it was a very easy process steamrolling into my first $10,000 month. I wish it was more complicated than that because a lot of people that I see talk about it try to make it seem complex. But at the end of the day, it's not. This is a very simple and seamless process that you rinse and repeat over and over again. And however large you do it at scale is how much money you'll make. So to quickly summarize everything in this video and go over how I think that you should use $100 to scale to $10K a month phone flipping, this is exactly what I would do. From $100 all the way up to $2,000, I will be buying and reselling phones on Marketplace and reinvesting all of my profits. From $2,000 and on, I'll be running paid marketing and selling to a wholesale buyer since I'm doing a lot more volume. With the paid marketing, I'll be giving out business cards for every transaction with a $10 incentive, basically calling people to refer more customers my way. I would also be recording my meetups with Ray-Ban Meta glasses to capture real, genuine, and raw interactions with my customers of just me being good business and everybody being comfortable. That way, when somebody does stumble across my paid marketing and they want to know a little bit more about me and what I do, they can look at my page and they can see that I'm really doing this. So the consistent stacking of these principles just creates a snowball effect, which brings an influx of customers your way, allowing you to make a ton of money. So I basically just gave you my step-by-step process on how I think you should take your $100 and flip it into something crazy. You can either take action or watch this video just leisurely. What you do from this point on is completely up to you. Now, if you do want help scaling your phone flipping business, you can just click the first link in the description. There's just a couple videos explaining how the program works, and there's a link where you can book a call, and we'll see if you're a good fit. So hopefully you can take your first $100, $200 and turn it into 5 figures. I'm not saying that it's going to happen overnight, nor am I saying it's going to happen in a month's time. The process that I just outlined for you took me like 4 or 5 months. But once you get to the point where you actually have $10,000 to invest, making 5 figures a month after that isn't hard. Like, I wish it was, but it's not. And even if you don't make exactly 10, I can very comfortably say that if you're running the systems that I just outlined, you'll be making 7 to 8K for sure if this is your full-time business. You can even run this business if you're working a 9-to-5 job and still reel in another 3 to 4K monthly. And an extra 3 to 4K in your pocket, it's not life-changing, but it definitely helps. But with all that being said, I appreciate you guys making it to the end of the video. Be sure to like, comment, subscribe, and share the video if you can. If you have any questions on your oddly specific situation on how you should scale your phone flipping business, leave them in the comments. I'll get to them as soon as I can. And I really do mean that. It's not like I have a bunch of subscribers. I have 60, so it's not like it's a lot of people to work with. But I'm definitely excited to hear everybody's journey if they do see this video. So with all that being said, it's been Ace, and I'll catch you on the next video.